It's Christopher Pollard here with Studio 713. We're hosting our first podcast, Model Mondays, and we have our first model joining us today from Seattle, Washington, originally from the Bay Area. She's signed to an agency. She's done a lot of great things. She's been able to travel a little bit, and we're going to go into her personal story as to how she got to where she is today, and any struggles and advice that she can give any new and aspiring models like yourselves, a way to get your foot in the door, just get over that hump that you're experiencing right now. So, welcome, Misscaaish. How are you today?
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. You know, living the dream. That's I always say, living the dream. I've been saying that for years, and now it's happening. You know, so.
Absolutely.
The podcast is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, and so I'm glad that I'm able to get you involved with this today and just learn more about you and share your story with the rest of the world. So let's just get right into it with you, Misscaaish. I know you have that's not your real name. You have an interesting name. There's a story behind that, so tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on, and excited to be part of your first Model Mondays podcast. I feel honored. Yeah. So my name is Misscaaish, and my full name is Aishwarya. So I go by Ash often. And so my Instagram name is Misscaaish, and the CA is for California because I'm from California. And my name actually means wealth and prosperity, so hence the cash. I just thought it fit well, but nobody gets it. But Misscaaish.
No, that's a great name, wealth and prosperity. You know,
Yes.
so you're originally from the Bay Area, but you're South Asian, correct?
Yes, I'm South Asian. I was born in India, close to New Delhi. So if you're shout out to my North Indians.
Yeah.
And I came to America when I was 7, and I lived in South Dakota. So that was a big culture shock.
Big difference, huh?
I was like, when I was in India, I'd like watch TV and I'd see like New York and all the city lights. And then like I come to South Dakota, I'm like, what is this? So we finally moved to California. That's when it all clicked.
And California is 7 years old, or just the United States 7 years old?
United States, 7 years old. And then when I came to California, I was probably like 9. And that's when we came to the Bay, and we stayed there since then.
Yeah. I'm actually from the Bay Area originally too, San Jose, California. Have you been?
Yeah, I lived in San Jose for like 6 months, 7 months.
Yeah, there you go. And so you've been California since 9. You're in Seattle now. And when did you start modeling? Walk us down the path of when you started modeling and your experiences.
Right. So modeling for me was a accident, was not something I planned on going into. It was in college. It's the earliest days I can remember before I like started shooting is that in college I had a friend who was sort of a influencer model type person, and he would take me along to his shoots as just like help. And he's like, get in front of the camera. Like, why don't you start shooting? And I was like, no, it's not for me, until I gave it a shot. And I just loved it. I loved being in front of the camera. I feel like I come alive in front of the camera. That's what my photographers say. Like, you have a different personality on camera.
Yeah.
So this was back in college. And then from there, I just kind of started working on my portfolio without even knowing it, because I started reaching out to local photographers and vice versa. And we just started creating concepts and fashion shoots. That's what I was interested in. And it was a benefit being in the Bay Area and like living in San Francisco or close to SAC is like, that's where it all kind of happened. So it's really easy and able to network with creatives in the area and start shooting and start getting tips. And after I realized it was like 2 years of just me, like every weekend or every like free time that I would have, I would just be out shooting.
Yeah. Networking. So
Yes.
you talked about networking. I know you've actually worked with a local photographer, a friend of mine, Hammer Photos.
Yes.
I saw him post your images today, actually. He's like, oh, you guys know each other. That's cool. And so when I know a lot of models, they struggle with, they're trying to build a portfolio. They don't know where to start. You know, they don't know, should they just start reaching out to photographers as much as possible? Is there a system or a method that you went by? Just, hey, who to work with? How did you know if they were good or not? Did you just go out and just start paying to build your portfolio? Or how did you start networking your way through your portfolio?
Yeah, I mean, I had no clue what to do. I had no clue where to start or that I could even apply to agencies. I think, there's two ways that I see that people can go. Is one, just like networking on Instagram. I think it's amazing that we have these platforms available to us. They're for free. Facebook, Instagram, like there's so many communities out there that you could join. So I would just say start on Instagram. That's the easiest place for me. That's where I started. Like I said, networking with local photographers. And there's some tips around that too that we could get into, like how to seek the right photographer versus like what's a scam. Reach out there and just start shooting. Just start getting out there and start taking pictures and getting feedback from people. That's the best part about Instagram, is free feedback. And then the other way is that you could just skip that route and go directly to agency websites. See people that they have, any particular agency that you go to, they will have a section for the people that are signed to them, and you can see what kind of portfolios they have and try to mimic that. You could even try to reach out to them, or you could talk to the agency directly. They will have photographers that they could connect you to. Usually those photographers do charge, and you'll have to pay, but at the same time, they're like industry approved or locally approved photographers that you could work with and have and build your book through that.
Yeah, so two ways then. People looking to get started. Number one, get on social media, start just asking, hey, I'm looking to get started modeling. I see that you do photography work, and maybe there's some key phrases you can put in there to just make sure that they are on the same page as you, and you guys are going to show up and actually create something beneficial to both parties. And right. Then another way is just going directly to the agencies, looking at their body of work and trying to hire the photographers that are professional, that are creating the work that the industries like to see, and then mimicking the same types of things that you see on advertisements, magazines, or on those websites.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I completely agree with that. And I think that second part is something that most models are overlooking. Mm-hmm. I've had people say that, they haven't done enough research to find the agencies, let alone thinking of, hey, should I just go directly to them, or do I need to build a portfolio first? Should I create a name for myself first? Or should I just go, hey, let me just hit them up right now, first thing, don't know where I get started, but at least I can maybe get some information back from the agency itself, if that's the route that you want to go to.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's no right or wrong way, just whatever works for you.
With the agencies, is it hard to get a response back from the agency? Is it you just hit up 10, 15, 20 agencies and see what sticks, or are they pretty good at getting back to you, giving you a yes or no answer, or pointing you in the right direction?
Honestly, I would say that really depends on the area and the agency. It's hard to speak on behalf of all agencies. I've been pretty fortunate to get a response, like a yes or no, like if they're not interested in me or whatever. It depends on how you contact them as well. I know that for my current agency that I'm signed to, it took a few tries because I just went on their website. I was referred by another model, like referred by word of mouth. This model I met, he mentioned you should go check them out. I said, okay. And then I went on their website and I filled out the form, filled out my measurements and everything, and I didn't hear back. And turns out that they'd never even like received anything on their end, or they weren't able to locate my name. So, technical errors do happen. Right. And then I reached out to them directly myself on Instagram, and they were super responsive, and emails back and forth were really fast. Other agencies that I've only contacted on Instagram, and they've only talked to me on Instagram, and they've said like, hey, like yes or no. But I have also not heard back from certain agencies that I just applied to, and I till this day I don't know where that application is. So
Yeah.
just depends, I'd say.
Yeah, so not only reaching out through the website, through email, through whatever contact information they have listed, but also reaching out on social media and seeing if you can just hit them both ways and getting a response that way.
Right. Yes.
Would you say that how important is your social media presentation? Not necessarily the followers, I'm sure that may become a factor, but how important is your presentation of yourself on social media? Do they take into consideration when they're getting back to you?
That's an interesting question. I don't think so. I don't think your social media actually matters because it's your. I mean, I think you should use it to your advantage, but in terms of like my interview that I had with my agency or anything like that, they never brought up my social media. My nothing was brought up. Didn't matter that I had one or not. I think it helped me because most of my work is on there, and I think it's smart to leverage Instagram as your portfolio.
Yeah.
And I think just across all industries, it's smart to clean up your social media, in my opinion. But I know that a lot of companies are also like caring less because everybody has social media now. So it doesn't really matter how you present yourself on there. But I think from an agency perspective, that's hard. I think that's hard to answer because my personal agency did not really care. They didn't mention anything. I don't know if other agencies care or
Well,
not.
your images, I've looked at your Instagram and they're all pretty good. Like you got some professional images on there, you're not on there just acting crazy, partying, drinking, and just like, you've seen Instagram. It gets kind of wild. And I bring that up because I seek out models sometimes for personal projects or a campaign, a company, small business might hire me, and then I need to find models to fit into their advertising campaigns. And so even another friend of mine does this as well. So we always are looking for new faces and models or that might be interested or just fit the look that we're going for. And for me, I stress the importance of your social media needs to look presentable, because if I go on your page and you're just flipping off the camera and smoking and twerking, and it's like, I'm probably not going to reach out to you unless that client that's hiring me that's the lane that they're going for. And so maybe it's two-sided there because it all depends on who's looking and why they're looking, right?
Yep. I mean, do as I do, not as I say. My Instagram, I treat my Instagram like a business. I treat it very seriously, very professionally for me, because I'm not even trying to limit myself from an agency perspective. Like I work with businesses and brands and photographers outside of what my agency brings to me. So I treat my Instagram as like, honestly, kind of like an influencer platform where I can reach out to brands myself, and I can only do that if I'm not smoking, drinking, twerking on my Instagram. Nothing wrong with none of that. Go ahead and live your life. Go ahead and do that, but do
There's
that
a
on
lane for
Snapchat.
everybody.
Yeah. Do that somewhere else. Maybe on a private page, but it's just too much opportunity out there for you to not treat your Instagram like a priority and like a business these days, in my opinion.
Yeah, you never know who knows who.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you've been signed to an agency now. You're with MDT agency, correct? And they're located in the Bay Area.
Yeah, they're an SF.
And so how is that? Your San Francisco agency you're signed to. You live in Seattle. Are they able to find you work wherever you go? Or are they flying you out? Like what's the experience like? Because being signed to an agency, I know just talking to so many people, that's like goals right there.
Yeah.
Like they've been doing it for so long, or maybe they just getting started and they're just like, I want to get signed, I want it so bad. And then I know people who are signed and they're like, it's not really all that, like I don't really care about being signed anymore, or they're getting booked 3-4 times a week now because the agencies are putting them in gig after gig after gig. What is your take on that, being signed versus not being signed? What's your experience?
So I'll speak for me. So I signed back in, I want to say like when the paperwork, orientation, all that was done, it's probably like November. And so it's very recent. It's barely been 2 months. And I got signed, like you said, in San Francisco, and I live in Seattle. So that was a question that was brought up to me when I interviewed, like, how are you going to manage coming in? Because sometimes they have jobs that like come out the blue and you're going to have to like fly out or make it. The best part about COVID, or things that work in my favor, is that a lot of the auditions are not in person. They're, everybody's basically having to set up like a little mini home, like audition room. So you like audition through your camera, or your iPhone or whatever camera you have. So that way you're only flying out if you do get booked or when the client needs you. For me, I have not been able to work with my agency or like have a lot of jobs at the moment, just because, one, I personally have been super, sorry, not, I was not trying to curse. I'm just so, I curse all the time. I've just been super busy with work, and also just like the holidays, I took some time off from like everything. So I really have not had a chance to like go in. But also how the jobs work is that your agency is tapped in with their network of clients that are constantly coming back to them for work. And then they also have like SF casting. I don't know if you've heard of SF casting.
Yes.
But even if you don't have an agency, you can make an account on SF casting, and they're always posting jobs on there, or whatever people need, and you can apply by yourself, and your agency will also apply for you and try to connect you, and then audition, and you can keep going like that. So for me, I have not been having to fly out recently, because I haven't just been investing that kind of time. But one thing I will say, and something that my agency stresses to me a lot, is that it's not like, oh, now that you have an agent, you can just chill out and not do anything. Like, it's, you get out what you put in. So, which is exactly true for me. Like, I haven't been able to tend to it much, so I haven't been booking that much. But if you're on top of it, you're always checking your email, you're on top of applying to jobs, and they're also on top of applying to jobs, it's going to be a match made in heaven, and you're bound to book. So you also have to like put in the work too. It's not just your agent's going to do everything for you.
Right, right. So you mentioned still having to apply for jobs as a model. So the agency, they're finding work for you based on, whatever companies that they're working with. If they're seeking somebody that's looking for your particular image, and you're also scouting out the marketplace to see, hey, what's out there? What can I apply to myself? Right. So getting paid, getting hired for gigs, or whether it's trade or paid, where are you finding these opportunities? Is there a model website that you go to? Is it just, Google search? Like, where are you finding outside gigs outside your agency?
Oh, outside my agency. Yeah, right. Outside my agency, I solely, for me, through Instagram, I have brands that reach out to me. I'm tapped in with a lot of influencers, or particularly South Asian influencers, that, they work with brands, and they like put me on the brand's radar list. And sometimes I'll reach out to brands. So one of the projects that I did was, I used to go to UCSC, or UC Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
And so I lived in Santa Cruz for 4 years while I was in college. And Santa Cruz is known for like a lot of like natural kind of stuff. I worked with a bikini company down there, Pelican House. They're on Instagram, and I think I'm not sure if they have an in-store. I think they do. I'm not 100%. But the owner reached out to me on Instagram, and we just kind of had a back and forth. And I've personally set my own rates, and you can do that too. You can do your research to see what industry rates are, and I, exchange that kind of information. I kept it super professional, like sent her some emails back and forth, and, we conducted a shoot, a paid shoot, whatever you want to call it, like, and I'm on her site now. And honestly, it's been great to work that way too, because it goes beyond just shooting. Like, I get to control who I'm working with, brands that I actually support and brands that I actually want to encourage. Like she makes ethically made, consciously made bikinis. So it's bikinis, or for the fabric is recycled and it's woman owned. And that's something I really, really stand behind. And it's awesome that, you know, we got to connect and we got to work and I had control over that versus like with your agency, like, of course you can decline jobs or whatever. But you know, you still have a little bit more control outside if you do it on your own.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Control, you know, knowing what you want, what you're getting into.
Yeah.
I read a lot of books. I'm reading a book right now called Flow, and in the first chapter or two, it says it's all about like what makes human beings happy at the end of the day. And I've read this several times over different books, and it comes down to control. You know, like taking control of your life, knowing what direction you're going in, having clarity on who you are as a person. And so even in the modeling world, having control of what type of shoot do I want to do? What type of model do I want to be? What agencies do I want to go after? And like you said, you set your own prices. You reached out to them. You set your own price. And, you know, it was a company that you believed in, you know, as far as a woman, as far as what they do for the world. And you made all those decisions prior to, and it's like, hey, this is a company I actually want to work with. And you ended up getting the gig. So the importance of clarity, you know, did it take you a while, like from starting out, like you said, hey, I didn't really know what I was doing, like I was just kind of doing it for fun, to now like, okay, I know exactly what I want, like what's the gap between there? Is there like some struggle points you hit to get there, and like you did the wrong thing, it's like, oh, we can recorrect that, or did you just always know this is what I want to do once you got started?
Man, I still don't know what I'm doing. I have no, like, it's not that I don't know what I'm doing. There's no like rule book, you know, like I think these days with Instagram, I see a lot of like ads for like how to build your platform, sign up for my coaching program. They'll give you like a little guide. But till this day, like I have not found like anything that's like well written and like guide by step, like this is what you need to do for you. I think that's also beautiful too, because you get to figure it out along the way. Like no one taught me how to do any of this. I just, one thing that I did know is that I love being in front of the camera and I love taking pictures. I love shooting
Yeah.
and I just love creating. So as many times as I got to do that, that's all that mattered. And my passion kind of carried over through the relationships that I was building, because I was passionate about modeling and photographers or business owners were passionate about what they were doing, and it all just kind of came together. And you know, kind of, I really believe in like law of attraction. I know some people are like whatever, but like attracts like. So if what you're putting out there is what you're going to receive, and also just kind of believing in yourself too, because there are so many days where I'm just like, damn, like you know, I that couldn't have been me, or like I don't know, like whatever, like, oh, I hit this milestone, like I can't believe I did that. Like, you know, you got to believe in yourself, because if you're not willing to bet on yourself, how do you expect these people to pay you? How do you expect them to spend their hard-earned money on you? They're betting on you too, but you can't even bet on yourself. So it's just like about doing that self-reflection and checking in with yourself and like telling yourself like you are good enough, like screw the standards, like screw everything else, like you want it, you're gonna go get it.
Yeah, yeah, I love that you said that.
Yeah.
I love that you said that. That's I can have a conversation with you for an hour
Yeah.
just about the power of belief and the law of attraction itself, and we can go pretty deep on that maybe another
Yeah,
time.
I love it.
But I mean, so believing in yourself. You said even despite the odds, and you know what people are telling you. And I know we talked on the phone before,
Yeah.
and you said you being South Asian, you not having the typical body type or look of what the industry standard is of a model. I know a lot of people struggle with that. Like, I don't look like them. You know, they look on the TV screen and the magazines like, I want to do this, but I'm not them. You know, I don't reflect that. So
Yeah.
how'd you come over that hurdle? Was it just you again mentally believing in yourself, or was there somebody just giving you an opportunity and it took off from there?
Yeah, I mean, that conversation about like being looking different and feeling different, it's still like an ongoing battle. And not only for me, but for a lot of women. I think where it really started was like looking at me and my friends and then looking at TV and kind of going back to like how I came here to America and growing up with like American TV. I was like, where are people that look like me? Where are people that have curly hair? Like, where people with more like melanated skin tones, like what, like and also like another thing about like being South Asian or just being darker is that you tend to get sexualized a lot on these platforms or on even media. If you see like the roles that women play, like Latino women or like Indian women, it's just like this very stereotypical role, and that kind of made me angry, and it made me like want to take again control of that. Like, if I can play a part in this and I can help shift the narrative for like girls that are younger than me, or the younger generation is going to look up to people like us, then why not start that representation? Just because it doesn't exist doesn't mean I can't create my own lane. And that's kind of what was the driving factor of like, let me just put myself out there. I mean, it already doesn't exist. If I get a no, then it's we're at the same place. But what if I get a yes? Then we've made a step forward.
Yeah, that's amazing. Congratulations to you on your success. It's good to hear that somebody out there is pursuing something that they love. They're getting success out of it, and that's I think that's what gets us out of bed at the end
Yeah.
of the day. So where can people find you?
Yes.
If they want to follow you social media, do you have a YouTube channel? Like where can people get in touch?
Yes, I'm on a lot of things. Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. It's all Misscaaish. I don't think I'm on anything else. Yeah, that's it. I've been slacking on the YouTube, but if the folks want to see anything, just hit me up on my Instagram. Last thing I want to say is that, I feel like I'm just getting started, and I'm not like this like crazy like successful America's Next Top Model. But that's what I want to stress is that like it doesn't matter like if you're at the top or wherever you are, as long as you're trying and like you're showing up for yourself, and doing the things that you love. And maybe you get into modeling and you realize like that's not for me, or like that's not what I thought it was, or it's more fun to shoot trade shoots versus like non-trade shoots, and like that's okay. Just like I feel like a lot of people, like you were saying, like they idolize like being signed and et cetera, et cetera. But like I feel like the more deeper you get, the more work you have to put in, and like the more research you have to go. Like the work just doesn't end just because like you got signed or you reach a certain destination. It's like there's new levels to every level, so you just gotta like keep going and keep grinding, keep hustling. Like there's no stopping, and that goes for self growth too. But that's another podcast.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, again, thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate you being on for Model Mondays. First episode, and we'll be releasing this here pretty soon. Instagram, YouTube, everywhere you can find the Studio 713. And yeah, appreciate you being on again. So Misscaaish, spell it for us.
Misscaaish. Misscaaish.
Thank you, Misscaaish, and I will talk to you soon. Let me know when you come to Sacramento. We can work.
Yes, we have to shoot.
Have a good night.